I think it's fair to say that everyone probably has their own definition of what perfection is, but as a society, I think there's a an idea of perfection that has become very prevalent, and I've been seeing it a lot. I don't know how long it's been the case, but certainly lately in people who write reviews or who talk about works, who rank them and give scores to things, there's this idea of the perfect work. In this case, we're going to talk about anime, but the perfect anime would be one where there's no perceivable flaws and all of the different elements work together. There's this great German word called Gesamtkunstwerk, which you can watch this Mr. Beatung video about Dark Souls and how that's a Gesamtkunstwerk. I'll put a link in the description. But it basically means a work where everything feeds into each other. Everything complements each other. So if we're talking about a book, then the writing style complements the story, which complements the themes, and the characters play into all of that. Everything feeds into each other. And I think that's a very common idea of what is perfect. And a lot of people would say that like a 10 out of 10 is a perfect work. And any flaws will take it down from there. And I've been really fascinated with this idea ever since a certain Demolition D video, and since looking at his My Anime list. Because Demo has talked about how there's this short film called Pendulum that's about 3.5 minutes long, and he said it's the only thing that he gave a 10 out of 10 because he couldn't find any flaws in it. And so I watched this Pendulum short film, and indeed, there's nothing I would consider a flaw in this film. It's 3 minutes long. It tells an emotionally gripping story in those 3 minutes. A complete character arc follows a guy throughout his entire life. It's quite sad and emotional. It has great music. They just kind of set it to a Muse song. The animation and art style is very simplistic, but it conveys the message as well as it needs to. Everything feeds into each other very well. It's inventive. It's animated in a way that's not quite like anything else you'll have ever seen before. So it has no real flaws. Except for one, in my opinion, which is that it's 3.5 minutes long. Because even though there's nothing wrong with it, the number of ideas it presents, the number of interesting things that are in it, is pretty small. It doesn't have enough time to really, it gets a strong emotional reaction out of you in that little 3 minute span. It gets you to empathize with and understand a character, and it can elicit tears. The original clip that like the first time this thing was shown was on like a Japanese game show or something, and there's like a picture-in-picture of people like losing their shit while watching the thing, and that's all well and good, but that's it. You watch it and it's over, and I don't know about everyone else, but I've never given much thought to it after that, other than to say, yeah, it's a really well-made short. It sure does have an emotional punch for a 3 minute short, I can give it that. But if that's what a 10 out of 10 is, then a 10 out of 10 is not a very interesting thing to me. Like, if perfection is like the ultimate goal, if that's what makes something the best, then the best is not that worthwhile in a weird paradox. Now I want to talk about a show that I've personally given a 10 out of 10, or at least like a strong 9. It's Log Horizon. Log Horizon is deeply, deeply flawed. The animation is not very good, especially not in the second season. We won't really talk about the second season. Let's just stick to the first, because the first season's better all around. But, the animation's less than incredible. Some of the character designs are a little weird. Personally, I'm a fan of the character designs. I know some people don't like them at all, but I enjoyed the character designs for the most part, but some of them are a little weird. Some of the artwork's a little wonky. There's parts where stuff's off model and just generally ugly. It's not paced perfectly. There's scenes that could just completely be removed that have no reason to be there. Really repetitive, annoying jokes. Like, I mean, it's a matter of taste, but I don't think there's anybody who's going to tell me that they really loved the repetitive jokes in Log Horizon. They're very stupid. They're hard to get past, you know. Some of the characters aren't that interesting. Again, really a matter of preference. There's episodes that I think most people would probably just rather skip over. You know, there's stupid elements to the show. So, I understand it would be weird to think of it as a 10 out of 10 show because it's definitely not perfect. And yet, I think Log Horizon has so many more interesting ideas than Pendulum that it's like a world of difference. Because Log Horizon has 26 episodes and a really high concept plot and tons of dialogue, tons of characters, tons of things it can explore that Pendulum can't. And what makes Pendulum so effective in those 3 minutes is that it's extremely broad ideas. It's stuff that anyone can understand. It follows a character through his life, but it's the most generic version of life. It's a guy who, you know, goes through regular desk jobs and, you know, he gets a wife and she dies of a disease, I think. Trying to remember, but like it's a very basic idea of what life is, and you understand his sort of existential dread because anyone could. It's the most broadly understood feelings possible. But a show like Log Horizon goes really deep into really specific emotions. It goes, you know, it's about characters who are trapped inside of an MMORPG game that most of them have been playing for a really long time. And so it goes really deep into the mindset of why people play these games, how they play these games, how they would be affected by being in one of these games, how the world of the game would be affected by having people emerge into it. It has all these creative and interesting systems for how people interact with the world, what changes, and then just fun, exciting thriller elements, like where there's in the first arc an enemy, like this one guild is like evil and they start like kidnapping people and forcing them to do work thanks to the weird rules of this game, and then the main characters manipulate the weird rules of the game in their own way and come out on top of the situation. It's all stuff that like couldn't possibly happen in any other scenario but the one that this show has created. There's a scene in this show, my favorite scene that you've probably heard me talk about if you've watched my videos about this show, where a character takes a bite out of a cheeseburger and says, "This is going to change the world." And it's one of my favorite scenes ever because there's no other context that I can think of where that made sense. Where a character would take a bite out of a cheeseburger and say, "This is going to change the world." In the moment, it's genius. It's brilliant. It's a huge turning point in the story. It's the payoff to the entire first 7 episodes of the show. And if that happened in Pendulum, it would make no sense. Or in any show, you couldn't. What 3-minute story could have that payoff? And then continue on to, you know, like even if you did create a 3-minute story that had that payoff, could you then go and have all the other payoffs the show has? It has so many different ideas, so many small moments of interesting things happening that, to me, there's just like there's a million little 10 out of 10 moments, a million little perfections, you know. There's several 3.5-minute scenes in Log Horizon that are as good as Pendulum. They might be interspersed with stupid scenes that don't matter and could totally be cut and should be cut. But to rank Pendulum higher because it doesn't have anything stupid, even though it really has one interesting idea, which is just to, be sad, in comparison to a show that is loaded with interesting ideas, seems really weird and backwards to me. And that's why I find perfection to be really uninteresting. I don't think that, like, doing everything right will get you the best show. And so it's weird to me when that's what people consider a 10 out of 10. Because to me, that's saying that it's better. You know, like saying that it's better to be that than it is to be flawed and super interesting. And I don't think that. I mean, maybe some people do. Maybe some people value that more highly, but personally, I find little value in that at all. To me, the most value is in having the most ideas. The reason that Gintama has long been one of my favorite shows, probably is my favorite show, it's just that it's been years since I've watched it, so I haven't been putting it in my top lists. But Gintama is an infinite series of ideas. Almost every episode is a totally new idea. They just keep coming up with different things, different ways to, work these characters and scenarios into all these different genres. The way the show is set up is this incredibly genius way to just never run out of ideas, because they set it in feudal Japan, but it's been invaded by every alien in the known universe. So an episode can be about fucking anything. It doesn't matter. And as a result, it never exhausts all of its great ideas. And it's like, again, there's 3-minute scenes in Gintama that are as good as Pendulum in every episode, and there's 350 episodes or something like that. Infinitely better, basically. So, like, it's really weird to mark a show like that, to mark a short film like that as a 10. Gintama's a 10. Yeah, I guess that's my whole point. I just think perfection's not that interesting. And, I'd like to see more people taking up that position as well.